So, we've been talking about structuralism, and I've been making a big deal about the fact that in order to understand the Derashot of the Hachamim, you must understand structuralism. That's based upon the golden doves. And if you don't understand structuralism, you cannot understand the Derashot of the Hachamim. So everybody's saying, wow, well, that's, nice. That's a particular perspective. It's a particular methodology. There's a lot of perspectives and there's a lot of methodologies, and it's just nice stuff, and maybe, maybe not. I want to show you that this is absolutely correct. You cannot understand the Derashot of the Hachamim without structuralism. I'm going to prove it to you right now. I'm going to read, and by the way, it's not just, it's so fundamental because, we're always reading these Derashot in the Sifra, in the Sifre, in the Mechilta, in the Gemara, in the Midrash Abba, in the Midrash Chama. We're always reading Midrashim. And they're kind of illogical. They appear to be illogical, at least. They're illogical if you don't understand structuralist thinking, right? And I think this is an amazing contribution to rabbinic thought, meaning my father's golden doves in connecting structuralist thinking with the midrashim of Hazal. We really understand how the Hachamim interpreted the Pesukim. So I'm going to do a few things in this video. I'm going to bring to you a midrash, one or two midrashim in the Sifra. Okay. After I bring to you the midrashim in the Sifra, and you will see how there is no logic to the midrashim. After I bring to you the midrashim in the Sifra, I'm going to give you a word or two about hermeneutics, structuralist thinking. And then we're going to go back to the midrashim, and I'm going to show you how the midrashim make sense in terms of structuralist thinking. And therefore the Hachamim ultimately thought in terms of structuralist thinking. So let's do this. Let's look at the pasuk first. There's a pasuk in Perashat Kedoshim, Vayikra Perek Kaf Pasuk Kaf Yod. Pasuk Tet. And forgive me, it's Sunday in America, and Sunday in America people mow their lawns, so it is what it is. I apologize that there is some of that noise in the background. And here's a pasuk: Ki ish ish asher yekalel et aviv ve'et emmo mot yumat aviv ve'emmo kilel damav bo. Okay, the pasuk says ki ish ish, if a man, any man, shall curse his father or his mother, death penalty. Mot yumat, there is death penalty. Aviv ve'immo kilel, for cursing either his father or his mother. Damav bo, he is responsible for his own death. That's a pasuk. Let me read you what the Sifra says. Sifra says ish. It brings the first word ki ish. Enli ella ish. From the first word ish, we learn that if a man were to curse his mother or his father, hayamita. Isha minayin. What about if a woman were to curse her father or her mother? Do we also say that that she is hayamita? Answer: Tilmod lomar ish ish ki yekalel Elohav. The pasuk says ish ish. It says man twice. Can somebody explain to me how saying man twice equals a woman? Right? I mean, how does that make any sense? But that's what the midrash says. I'm going to read it again. Ish enli ela ish. Isha minayin. Talmud lomar, or my father alav hashalom used to say tilmod lomar. Ish, ish, because it says ish twice. Ki yekalel Elohav. And therefore from ish twice we learn it's a woman. And then the pasuk, the midrash continues, says ve'et aviv velo et avi aviv. It says ish ish asher yekalel et aviv ve'et imo. Okay? And then it says aviv ve'imo kilel damav bo. Why does it say aviv ve'imo a second time? Aviv to teach us. Velo et avi aviv. Is not his father's father. And imo again, velo et abi imo. Okay, that's a derashah. Again, how does any of that make any sense? Well, in Western thinking, in conventional Western thinking, and in classical modes of hermeneutics, it really doesn't make any sense. Okay, fine. Let me show you another example of a derashah, also in the Sifra. I'm just bringing the Sifra because the Sifra is one of the classical rabbinic texts, and unfortunately it's not studied enough, but it's the basis for many of the halachot. Hold on one second. Let me find the halacha. This one is in Perashat Behar. Okay, let me give you another pasuk. As I said, this one is in Perashat Behar. The pasuk says in Perashat Behar, Perek Kafeh, pasuk Yod Zayin, Velo tonu ish et amito ve'areta me Elohecha ki ani Adonai Elohechem. Velo tonu, you are not allowed to oppress your fellow. You are not allowed to oppress your fellow. Ve'areta me Elohecha, you should have fear of God. Do not oppress your fellow. Okay, so now the question is, what type of oppression is this talking about? So, looking at the Sifra, Perashat Behar, Perek Dalet. Velo tonu ish et amito, brings the pasuk that we just read. Zo hona'at devarim. This refers to oppression with words, verbal oppression. Yachol ze hona'at mamon. Perhaps, no, this is oppression with money. Answer. Keshehu omer al tonu ish et achiv. The previous pasuk in the parasha says al tonu ish et achiv. Hare onat mamon amura. That pasuk was referring to onat mamon. Ma'ani mekayem velo tonu ish et amito. How do I explain this pasuk? Hare onat devarim. So this pasuk must be talking about onat devarim, because the previous pasuk was talking about onat mamon. How does that make any sense? So because the previous pasuk was talking about onat mamon, this has to be talking about onat devarim? Why? Why should that be? So I'm going to explain all that. I'm going to give you some further thinking about hermeneutics and structuralist thinking. Okay? So here's the important thing. Let's say I'm looking at a painting. I want to interpret the painting. Or let's say I'm looking at a text, a written text. I want to interpret the text. For example, it says, Vayi'erev vayiboker yom echad. So the word yom means a day. So it means one day. Is that correct? Is it a day? Okay, so that's a good question. So hermeneutics. How do I interpret the text? The science of interpretation is called hermeneutics. And here's the key to understanding Jewish hermeneutics. Jewish hermeneutics is based upon holistic thinking. I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain holistic thinking in terms of what I would call non-holistic thinking, or perhaps we would use the word atomistic thinking. Here goes. I have a bag. The bag has 1 pound of material in it. I take another 5 pounds of material and I add it to the bag. How much material does a bag have? 1 pound plus 5 pounds is 6 pounds. So that's atomistic thinking. You just add the quantity. Another example. I have a house. The house covers an area of 100 square yards. And let's say I purchase the house next door, and the house next door covers an area of 100 square yards. How many square yards do I have? 200 square yards. I'm pretty sure I got the math right there. That's atomistic thinking. Okay, that's an atomistic approach. Let's look at something else now. Anyone out there like steak? Good. I mean, good steak. Good steak. Okay, a good good rib steak. Okay. Anybody else here like peanut butter? Peanut butter, one of my favorite things. Always like peanut butter. And yet, if I was to take steak, really good steak, right off the fire, right? Sizzling. And I was to add peanut butter to it, I would be destroying the steak. But why is that? Peanut butter is a great taste. Steak is a great taste. But together, it's a catastrophe. Because there is something called holistic thinking. Holistic thinking means the sum of two things is not always a mathematical equation, right? And a good chef is somebody who knows how to take two different tastes, combine the two tastes, and make something incredibly delicious. So you see that the whole is not always the sum of the parts. Okay, all right. So now, let's look at meaning. The meaning of words. Well, that's easy, right? What does a word mean? Just open up a dictionary and you see the meaning of a word. Like, that's pretty simple, right? And then when you have a sentence, there's words in the sentence, and you just take the words in the sentence, you add them up together, and the mathematical equation gives you the meaning of the sentence. Namely, the sentence is just the sum of the words, right? That's not correct. Let me give you a simple word. Can. What does the word can mean? So for example, the word can depends on the sentence in which the word can appears. So for example, I like in Israel, we lived like down the block from a delicious bakery which had great cappuccino. So in the morning I'd ask my kids, can any one of you go to the bakery and get me a cappuccino? Just make sure it has some cinnamon on top. I like it with cinnamon. So my son says, I can do that. So he goes and he gets me the cappuccino. Okay. Let's look at example number 2. We had a race there was an annual race in Ra'anana, Mirutz Ra'anana, 10-kilometer race, and the winner did some crazy time. I think, I don't know, maybe he did 5-minute miles for the whole race or something. At least for me, that seems like a crazy time. So I said, who can even run one 5-minute mile? And my son in the army says, I can run a 5-minute mile. I mean, they have training. Okay, the word can in these two sentences have different meanings, right? Right. Or a third sentence, can you buy me a can of tuna? So let's look at these 3 sentences. In the first sentence, I can do it means it's a promise to do something. In the second sentence, I can do it is a boast. I have the ability to do something. And in the third sentence, the word can is a noun. It just refers to a can of tuna. So you see how the meaning of a word is dependent upon the sentence in which the word appears, right? So the sentence, which is a context, affects the meaning. That's holistic thinking. Peanut butter on top of a steak is not equal to peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter and chocolate. Okay, peanut butter and chocolate are delicious. Peanut butter and jelly is really good. Peanut butter and steak is terrible. So you see, holistic thinking says that the meaning of individual elements is all relational, right? The meaning of one thing is in relationship to another thing. That's the essence of structuralist thinking. The essence of structuralist thinking is that elements, words, have meaning only relative to other words, right? And you can do this with sentences, you can do this with paragraphs, but it's always the context that determines the meaning of any particular word or of any particular sentence. So for example, it says, Vayese Yaakov mi be'er shava vayelech harana. There, the word Vayese means that Yaakov Avinu left one place and went towards another place. Vayeseh ben isha Yisraelit vehu ben ish Misri. In that sentence, the word Vayeseh actually means he stood firmly, right? He stood firmly where he was. So you see how the word Vayeseh, the meaning of the word Vayeseh, is in relationship to the entire sentence in which it appears. Structuralist thinking. You remember we spoke about in one of the earlier classes about Augustine of Hippo, who he said when he would see his parents pointing to the bread, he would understand, oh, that's bread. The word, the sound, bread, that sound refers to the object bread on the table. And then in structuralist thinking, we said it's not exactly the object bread on the table that it refers to a concept of bread. But the concept of bread is understood in terms of other concepts. There's a concept of cake, there's a concept of crackers. So it's not just what bread is, it's what it's not. Bread is not a cracker, bread is not a cake, bread is not pasta, right? So you see how in structuralist thinking you have an array of elements, and each element has a meaning in opposition to the other elements. So the entire sentence gives meaning to each one of the elements, and the elements in turn give meaning to the sentence. So that's holistic thinking. That's structuralist thinking. Now let's look at the Derashot. And I have to tell you, what I just told you is the key to understanding a vast majority of the Derashot of the Chachamim. And many people, they go to yeshiva and they, shelo alenu, shelo neda, they mock, chas v'shalom, but they mock the Derashot. I've heard this so many times and it's so painful. I don't want to say it's their fault, not their fault. I'm not here to moralize or to preach. Something is wrong in the system. Something is wrong in the way these people are being taught Torah. Something is wrong in the fact that people will be so quick to ridicule the Torah. So I blame both sides. I don't blame either side. But here's the point. Let's look at the Derashot in the Sifra in terms of structuralist thinking. The first Derashah was in Perashat Kedoshim. We said Ish, en li ela ish, isha menayin, tilmod lomar ish ish. Structuralist thinking. Each word has a meaning relative to the other word. So if the same sound, ish, appears in the same sentence immediately and together, well, those two words can't mean the same thing, because structuralist thinking teaches us that every word has meaning in relationship to every other word. So the first word, ish, means a man. The second word, ish, means a woman. In contrast to the man, there is a woman. And the two words cannot mean the same thing, otherwise it would be a redundancy in the pasuk. Now, in classical atomistic thinking, interpreting both words in the same way seems silly, because they view things as real objects, and ish refers to the ish out there. But in structuralist thinking, where words exist in relationship to each other, the same word can point out in different directions, and we say ish, ish, ki yekalel, and we say the second ish refers to a woman, not to a man. But that's an example of using structuralist thinking to understand a word. But now, so the word can, I can do that, or I can get you the cup of coffee, or I can do that. The same word can has two different meanings, right? It could be in the same sentence also, right? So here we see in the same sentence, the same word ish has two different meanings. One case it means ish, the other case it means isha. But here's the punchline. We said the same way the words can have different meanings based upon the context. A sentence can have different meanings based upon the context. And here we have in Perashat Behar, Ve'al tonu ish et ahiv, en li ella ish. I'm sorry, I was not looking at the Derashah. The pasuk says, Ve'lo tonu ish et amito zo hona'at devarim. Why? Because the pasuk says ve'al tonu ish et achiv. That's ona'at mamon. Same sentence. Al tonu, al tonu, al tonu ish et achiv, al tonu ish et amito. Why is it that in one case it's ona'at mamon, and the other case it's ona'at devarim? Because in structuralist thinking, meaning is given by the entire structure. So here we have a series of pesukim. One of the pesukim is ve'al tonu ish et achiv, and there it's explicitly talking about money. Later on, same parasha, we have a very similar sentence, almost identical. Ve'lo tonu ish et amito. So in structuralist thinking, since things exist and have meaning in relationship to each other, we know that the second pasuk is talking about oppression, but it's not talking about financial oppression. So in structuralist thinking, there's another. I look for the other type of oppression, and that's ona'at devarim. So this is a preliminary lesson on rabbinic hermeneutics. It's subtle, but when you get past the subtlety, this will help you understand the vast majority of the Derashot of the Chachamim. You can't understand it in terms of classical English thought, which again is atomistic. You have to understand the Chachamim sitting in Surah, in Nehar in Pumbedita, in the Anshe Knesset Gedolah, in the Ohel Moed with Moshe Rabbeinu. They were not classical English thinkers. They thought in terms of structuralism, which is something that was only discovered by the Western world about less than a century ago, far less than a century ago. But certainly in the days of Moshe Rabbeinu, it was only there. So that's so important to understanding the Derashot, structuralist thinking.